Hello, I'm the Progressive Disciple, and I'm taking a journey through the Bible, and I'm inviting you to join me. Today, we are covering Jeremiah, chapters 16 through 20. Jeremiah starts by talking about the disaster yet to come. In Jeremiah chapter 16, verses 1 through 4, he says, "Then the word of the Lord came to me. You must not marry and have sons and daughters in this place. For this is what the Lord says about the sons and daughters born in this land, and about the women who are their mothers and the men who are their fathers. They will die of deadly diseases. They will not be mourned or buried, but they will be like dung laying on the ground. They will perish by sword and famine, and their dead bodies will become food for birds and wild animals." This spoke to me because of the heartbreak these awful times had caused. The bad times are not just for ourselves, but for our loved ones as well. I also think about how disrespectful it is to leave bodies on the ground to rot. The horror of the situation is just overwhelming. In Jeremiah chapter 16, verses 14 and 15, he says, "However, the days are coming, declare the Lord, when it will no longer be said, 'As surely as the Lord lives, who brought the Israelites up out of Egypt,' but it will say, 'As surely as the Lord lives, who brought the Israelites up out of the land of the north, and out of all the countries where he had banished them. For I will restore them to the land I gave their ancestors." This spoke to me because it again restores my belief in a very loving God. It is true that horrible times have arrived, and God was using this to make Israel a more pure nation. But God still loves us and will keep his promises. And no matter how bad times get, there is always hope. In chapter 17, Jeremiah calls on Judah to return to the Lord. In chapter 17, verses 7 and 8, he says, "But blessed is the one who trusts in the Lord, whose confidence is in him. They will be like a tree planted by the water that sends out roots by the stream. It does not fear when heat comes. Its leaves are always green. It has no worries in a year of drought and never fails to bear fruit." This was a very refreshing, positive passage from Jeremiah. It speaks to me that in a world that pulls me in every direction, I can take comfort in being nourished from the Lord. In Jeremiah chapter 18, verses 2 through 4, he says, "Go to the potter's house, and there I will give you my message." So I went down to the potter's house, and I saw him working at the wheel. But the pot he was shaping from the clay was marred in his hands. So the potter formed it into another pot, shaping it as seems best to him. This was meant as a warning to the people of Judah that God has the authority to destroy and remake them. He was speaking to the nation of Judah, but I think God uses this for us as well. I remember a hymn that I dearly love called "Have Thy Own Way, Lord." It says, "Have Thy own way, Lord, have Thine own way. Thou art the potter, I am the clay. Mold me and make me after Thy will." And I think if we open ourselves up to God, He can remake us a better person than we are. In chapter 19, Jeremiah uses pottery again to make a point. He directs Jeremiah to buy a clay jar from a potter. And in chapter 19, verses 10 and 11, he says, "Then break the jar while those who go with you are watching, and say to them, 'This is what the Lord Almighty says. I will smash this nation and this city just as this potter's jar is smashed and cannot be repaired. Then they will bury their dead in Tophet until there is no more room.'" This spoke to me because there are several ways that God can change our hearts: by gently remolding us or by shattering our world. I do find this passage disturbing. I do not believe every bad thing that happens to us is caused by God. When people say, "You must have done something wrong for God to have done this to you," I feel these are very hurtful and wrong words. I do see this, though, as a warning for us not to become too arrogant. In Jeremiah chapter 20, verses 1 and 2, he says, "When the priest Pashahar, son of Immer, the official in charge of the temple of the Lord, heard Jeremiah prophesying these things, he had Jeremiah the prophet beaten and put in stocks at the upper gate of Benjamin at the Lord's temple. After Jeremiah was released, he prophesied to Pashur that he and his family would be taken as captives. If that priest's goal was to shut Jeremiah up, it totally failed. This spoke to me because I often want to hear views that I agree with. I tend to watch news shows that agree with my personal political beliefs. I watch YouTube videos of people that I agree with. I notice that there are many ways that people try to get others who give views that are different from their own to shut up. Slap lawsuits come to mind. When somebody says something that they do not like, they will attempt to punish them by suing them in a jurisdiction where they are not punished for doing so. A person is therefore forced to get representation and has to pay through the nose. In Florida, they have the Don't Say Gay law, where only their point of view can be displayed. There's also an attack on diversity training. And on my side of the political divide, there's cancel culture, where we try to punish people who give opinions that we don't like by boycotting them. It seems to me that the idea of getting people to shut up and not listening to each other is causing a further and further divide in our country. I think we need to stop this war and start seriously listening to each other. So, this is my view of Jeremiah, chapters 16 through 20. So what are your views? Please comment. What do you think about letting God remold you? What do you think about tragedies that occur in a person and in a nation's lifetime? Is this caused by God? And what do you think about opinions of people who you disagree with? Are they worth listening to? Please comment below. Also, like and subscribe to my video. I am the Progressive Disciple, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.